and how that can be of help to us who are doing formation work. You know that mission animation is not only a sector, but it is a part of our vocation as Salesians. So we are privileged to have Father Alfred Maravilla to do this presentation to us. Okay, Father Alfred, let's give Father Alfred a big hand.
So good morning to everyone. I take the indulgence of those who had heard this in the previous meeting, but since I was asked by Brother Mon, I would willingly take this opportunity. He told me 30 minutes, so I should limit myself to that, because I have also to leave. Every time I go around the houses, like even yesterday and the day before, and I present this booklet, which has been translated in Korean, I know, but I'm not sure with the other languages, the missionary formation of the Salesians in Don Bosco. The first question that they ask me is, how many people did you get to be missionaries? This is not for fishing missionaries. This is about the missionary formation of the Salesians of Don Bosco. So what does this document talk about? It talks about how we can keep that missionary spirit alive in the heart of every Salesian. And in order to keep that missionary spirit alive in the heart of every Salesian, from the pre-novitiate until ongoing formation, there are contents to be emphasized, attitudes to be fostered, and experiences to be encouraged. Therefore, the goal of this book is to keep the heart of every Salesian burning with a fire, the apostolic fire. The fire that makes every Salesian capable to look beyond the walls of his house, the walls of his province, who has the heart that is always in search to make Jesus known to others. That is the purpose of this. Whether they will become missionaries abroad or not, that is not the main thing of this. The main thing of this document is to help everyone rediscover that fire and to keep that fire alive. It is interesting that in Evangelii Gaudium, Pope Francis mentioned certain things that have been mentioned here. This was prepared for 5 years before, at least the initial preparation. So it became Evangelii Gaudium reflects many of the points that are mentioned here. For example, if we do not keep the heart of every Salesian on fire with that apostolic ardor, if you would call that, that is typical and is essential element of our mission, that missionary spirit, the consequences would be what Pope Francis say, interior tiredness or interior fatigue, pastoral acedia, or we would say, pastorale di mantenimento, maintenance of, how do you call it? A pastoral work where only you keep the structure alive. I mean, just to maintain the pastoral of maintenance. Survival pastoral activity. That means just to survive in order to keep this house going, and we don't look beyond anymore. My dear brothers, this is a reality that we find in the congregation. Father Clement remembers this when we were in Europe, when we had the study days in Europe. After beautiful discussions, one convert told me, you know, Father, all what we discuss is beautiful, but in our province we are all tired. And that happens not only in Europe, that happens in all provinces. We are tired. And we don't look beyond. And when we don't look beyond, again, the European Conference made a nice reflection of this. They say, when we don't look beyond and we look only inwards, we begin to lose our enthusiasm. And the young people who come to discern their vocation, they will not like to be part of a congregation which has lost its enthusiasm. So they leave us. And they join other congregations. And they join the diocese. So to us, in our Salesian way of life, missionary animation has a lot to do with vocational animation. It has a lot to do with keeping our vocation as Salesians alive by keeping the missionary ardor alive. And mind you, our Constitution tells us the missionary spirit is an essential element. That means it's for all, because it's an essential element. It's not for some, it's for all. So I think the challenge in formation is how to keep that ardor, how to keep that missionary flame alive right from the pre-novitiate, into the novitiate, in the post-novitiate, in the student of theology, and in ongoing formation. In order to do that, there are, as I have mentioned, there are activities proposed, which surely you would have known. So I think that is the first and basic foundation of this book. Not to look for missionaries, but to keep that missionary ardor alive. The fire that makes us capable to look beyond the walls of our houses, beyond the walls of our oratory, and search for those who are in need of the gospel. If all Salesians would have that fire, if the province is on fire, if the house is on fire, it cannot be that some Salesians would ask to go to the foreign mission. Some, not all. Father Vigano says very clearly, the missionary vocation to work outside your province is a vocation within the Salesian vocation. That means all should have that missionary fire, but some will have that vocation to work outside their province. Now, since it's a vocation within a Salesian vocation, it needs discernment. It's important for us to remember this. No? It needs discernment. So this book again suggests that if there are some Salesians who discern or who think that they have a vocation to work outside their own province, their own country, they should discern with their spiritual guide if they have that vocation, right? From the pre-novitiate, from the novitiate, and then post-novitiate, and so on. Father Basanias told me to tell this to those who are in formation when I meet them, and yesterday, the other day, Father John translated, he told me, it's a bit difficult to translate this, but Father Basanias told me, and I think it's right, no? He told me to repeat this to those in formation. If you have discerned your vocation, and together with your guide, you have discerned together that you have a vocation to work outside your country, but your provincial tells you, no, don't go because we need you here. You have to disobey your provincial. Because it's your vocation, it's a discernment. The spiritual guides are there supposedly to help you discern, not to block you in your discernment. So if it's an honest discernment, then you should go ahead. Now, you are in charge of formation and you are in charge of many people under you. And I think it is important that we have to have this capacity. Unfortunately, in some provinces, they have the mentality that we are a missionary province, so we should receive. We should never give. I remember one province in Brazil told us, Father Clement was the mission counselor, the provincial told me, we should receive because we are a missionary province. But when some of our people go, no, they should not go, we are receiving. No. The reality today in the congregation is that all the provinces are co-responsible for the whole mission of the congregation. Therefore, missionaries from all continents go to all continents. So, in the recent years, the last 6-7 years, we have, for example, this year, the first missionary from Swaziland was sent to China as a missionary. Some in Africa are going to Europe. Some Asians are going to Africa and to Europe and to America. It's all over. Now, if one of your foreman would say and would discern with you that he has a missionary vocation, would you allow him to go? I was telling Father Pangkas, what if one of your first Papua New Guineans would discern to have a vocation, would you allow him to go? Yeah, they have no. I said, no, we need, no. That said, this is the pastoral change, the mentality that the congregation and the church is asking us. We are co-responsible for the whole congregation. 5 years ago, the province of France, they had an ordination after 16 years, the first ordination after 16 years. And after ordination, the guy asked to go to the missions. And the provincial was wise enough, and he said, if you have discerned that is your vocation, go. And I think that is what we are trying to tell you. So this book is not really only about looking for missions. No, that is secondary. What is important is that we help all our Salesians rediscover that missionary fire, that enthusiasm that Don Bosco had, which is an essential element of our charism. Essential means every Salesian should have that. And if a Salesian does not have that, something is lacking in his vocation, in his identity. And if that is present in all Salesians, it cannot be but some of them would like to choose to become a missionary. Some people ask a question something like, who is the missionary today? One French Salesian told me, I think I shared this with the other group, why do you send us missionaries in France? We are not poor people. How would you respond to that? There is still that old concept in the congregation that mission is doing something for the poor. Mission is only from rich countries going to poorer countries. That is not true anymore in the congregation and in the whole church. We Salesians, we are struggling still how to put into our frame of mind Project Europe. We have, Father, 65, I think, no? 65 missionaries in Europe up to this present day. But you know the SVDs, the Society of Divine Word, which is a missionary congregation ad gentes by nature. In 2008, they had 230 non-European missionaries in Europe. They're way much ahead of us. A new mentality that in the church, it is not anymore, mission is not anymore going to an area to another. What is mission then? This was said already by John Paul II 20 years ago. Mission is not anymore geographic. From Europe to Papua New Guinea, or from Europe to Africa. No. Mission is moving from your area to another situation, to another context where there is a need to have a first proclamation, Mission Gentes, where you need ordinary pastoral activity, or where you need renewed or new evangelization. So mission in the church today is not anymore geographic, but situations. In short, you can very well be missionary in your own country. In fact, you should be missionary in your own country. You should have that missionary ardor. You should have that missionary fire. In the Redemptoris Mission, John Paul II says, even in one parish today, you will find these three settings. There are people who don't know Christ, there are those who need ordinary pastoral activity, and there are those who need renewed evangelization. Then this book becomes even more relevant. That means every Salesian should have that missionary ardor, that fire burning in his heart, to search around him those who need Christ, those who need to hear the gospel, or those who have to be renewed in their faith. But that does not diminish missio ad gentes ad exteros ad vitam, going outside your own country or for life? Sometimes some Salesians told me, if you talk about only that we are all missionaries, then what happens to Mission Agentes? No, it is not contradictory. It is complementary. You cannot, in fact, the criteria that is set here, you cannot opt to become a missionary if you yourself is not living your Salesian life with missionary zeal. That's the basic condition. Okay? Now, since the missionary vocation is a vocation within a Salesian vocation, there are some set criteria made here in this book, which I think it's good for you to look through, because you will be people who will be guiding your formates or your formans. Formies. You say formies? Formand, you know? Okay. In India, I think you say formies. Here they say formand. Okay. So what are the criteria that you have? Good health, I'm just mentioning some. Human maturity, spirit of faith. But in East Asia, Father Basanias told me to repeat this to you. I think Father Clement had mentioned some way. We need English as a requirement. That means if you want to be a missionary agentes, you need to have a certain grasp of English. Not perfect yet, but a certain grasp of English. So, no English, maybe it's too radical to say this, but no English, no missionary vocation. In a sense that you need to have a grasp of English, because our experience this past 7 years, when they go to different countries to learn another language, English is always the bridge. Whether you learn Portuguese, Spanish, French, German, so on and so forth, you need always English. And our experience has been that when a young convert doesn't know English, to learn another language is a struggle, because first he has to learn English and then another one. So it is really important to make an investment in that. I leave this there. Maybe if you have some questions, because that might be better if you have some questions, I might be able to answer. We have 5 or 10 minutes before I hand over the microphone. So if there is any question, I would be willing to answer. It is supposed to be just to make you, to whet your appetite, and hopefully you have read this, or you go and read it. And if you don't have it, your province delegates have received the digital copies of this I sent them. Brother Bon has also, so you can just ask. If you have any question or clarification or comment. Yes, Brother Father Eugene. Some are called in the harvest at the first hour, some at the last hour, but the payment is the same. The ideal time, this book says, the ideal time to go is practical training. The ideal time is practical training, because when you are young, you learn the language easily. Psychologically also, the priests have already a block when they go to learn to go. Why? Because to learn a language, they have right away to say Mass, to say the homily. While when you're a brother, you can run around the oratory with all your broken language and nobody bothers, and you pick up quite easily. No? But you can always go anytime. Of course, the ideal time would be practical training. In Africa, in this last year and the previous year, they have made, the provincials have made a certain policy. If one African Salesian would like to go to the missions, as part of the discernment, they would assign him first to a mission area in the province for a year. Or they agree with another province, I will lend you this brother to help him discern his vocation. Then after a year, then they are set if they have discerned well. So, in a few years back, there was an experience of some Vietnamese aspirants who went to Japan. I think it was a good experience for them. Those were, they went as aspirants. Of course, Father Rinaldi, in his time, he used to send Salesians as aspirants. No? And there was no need to work for the formation of missionaries, because they enter the province, they integrate into the formation process of the province. Now, when they apply, we need to help them, because the context has changed, situations have changed. Any other question? Yes, Father.
I would have a question. How many of you did facilitate the missionary vocation discernment already? Can you raise the hand here?
How many of you have facilitated the missionary discernment, the missionary vocation of some Salesians? How many of you?
Have to discern.
You have helped them to discern their missionary vocation. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. Discernment, yeah. 4. You know, sometimes the first block are the Fomators. If you look at the Calieron, where is somebody? Father Virgilio is here. Father Virgilio. If you look at the Caliero of this month, Tony Derek, actually I softened the thing because it was very strong, so I kind of, the right to edit. He said, when I was a novice, I asked to be a missionary, and they told me, don't go, we need missionaries in Indonesia. So when I entered the pre and post novitiate, I asked to be a missionary. They told me, don't go, we need missionary in Indonesia. Finally, I decided to go to Father Clement without telling my rector. So this is, no, it's not Father Virgilius, but it's in his province. It's not him who stopped it. Andre. Yes. In fact, in that sharing, he mentioned Father Andre. I removed it. No, but this is sometimes the problem. The formators are the ones stopping. Formators are supposed to help in the discernment. You help. They discern. It's a vocation within a vocation. Of course, the other extreme is no discernment, just go. That is the other extreme. You raise your hand, I want to go to the mission, go. And tomorrow they'll be back. Because there's no discernment. So you have to strike the balance. Either no discernment or blocking the discernment. Both are not good. Okay, very good. Please, here, Father Clement, one of the first counter-indications. It starts with, very strange, because this book of discernment starts with counter-indications. First counter-indications. Those who have problems in their provinces have no missionary vocation. That is a first counter-indication. Whether it is relational, personal, or vocational problems, they don't have a missionary vocation. Sometimes some provincials said, oh, Father, you're giving me a hard time. I think you have a vocation to be a missionary. Then you disappear from the province. You pass the problem to the other province. So this is also important. Those who cannot work as a team, those who are individualists, those who cannot work together with other people, they don't have a missionary vocation. And those who give you problems in the formation house, please, don't pass the problem. Okay? I think I have said enough. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your patience. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father Alfred.